Jungkook confronts Jimin with a shocking truth. During a fan meeting, what he reveals freezes Jimin in place, and fans erupt in panic. "You lied to me in front of everyone." The words exploded across the room like a grenade. Microphones didn't catch it. Cameras weren't fast enough. But every soul in that hall felt it. The silence that followed was unnatural. Jimin didn't move. Jungkook stood there, not even pretending to smile for the audience anymore. The fan meeting was still happening technically. Staff froze. Security turned toward the stage, but no one dared speak. Because this wasn't a planned segment. This wasn't in the script. This was raw. "You said you didn't talk to him, that you blocked him after the tour, that he meant nothing." Jungkook's voice wasn't raised. It didn't need to be. It cut straight through the manufactured joy that had hung in the air just moments ago. Namjoon shifted behind them. Yoongi stared. Taehyung blinked rapidly, mouthing something to Hoseok. The fans began to stir, confused murmurs sweeping the arena like the first gust of a coming storm. "Do you want me to say it now?" Jungkook turned to the audience. "Should I tell them?" Jimin finally moved. Just one step. But he said nothing. "You've been lying to everyone for months. We agreed to keep it private, to keep it respectful. But you..." Jungkook turned away, then turned back, pacing. "You went behind my back. Again. And now you're standing here like none of it happened." He didn't cry. He didn't flinch. He just kept speaking, and every word dragged more air out of the room. "I covered for you when the rumors started. I told the label to stay silent. I begged them not to release the statement because I thought you'd come clean on your own." His eyes burned, locked onto Jimin. "But here you are, playing innocent, playing angelic." The fans were no longer silent. Some were screaming. Some were trying to calm others down. A few began crying outright. "You said you loved me." The sentence landed like a hammer. Taehyung inhaled sharply and turned away. The manager at the edge of the stage raised his headset but didn't step forward. Jimin's lips parted, but there was no sound. "I should have known when you kept checking your phone at night during the Osaka stop. You thought I was asleep. I wasn't. And then in Tokyo, when you disappeared for 3 hours after the encore, you said you went for a walk. But you didn't." Jungkook reached into his pocket and pulled out a small photo, a printed one. He held it up, not to the crowd, but to Jimin. "You kissed him." Finally, Jimin found his voice. "It wasn't. Don't say that." Jungkook didn't raise his voice, but the intensity behind the words shut Jimin down instantly. "You were supposed to meet my family after that leg of the tour. You told me you'd already talked to your parents, but instead, you were with him." Jimin turned to the crowd, as if looking for escape. But there was none. Every phone was up, every eye was on him, and now there was no denying anything. "I didn't plan for it to go this far," Jimin said quietly. "You planned enough to keep it from me. That's the part I can't get over." The other members didn't interfere. They knew better. This wasn't a simple argument. This wasn't about music. This was betrayal unfolding live in front of millions. A fan screamed, not in excitement, not in joy, but pure panic. It spread fast. Whispers turned into cries. Some begged Jungkook to stop. Others pleaded for the staff to intervene. But neither happened. "I would have forgiven you," Jungkook said. "Even now, if you had said it was a mistake, if you had come to me in private and explained it, even if it shattered me, I would have stayed silent. For you, for us, for what we used to be." "I was scared," Jimin replied, his voice cracking. "I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't even know how to admit it to myself. I didn't mean for it to happen like that. But it did." They stood facing each other, as if time had stopped, as if this stage was no longer a fan event, but a battlefield for truths that should have stayed buried. "I told you everything," Jungkook continued. "I told you about the letters from my dad. I told you how I felt used by Hybe. I told you how I felt alone when the cameras turned off. You were the only one who knew. And I listened." Jimin shot back. "Don't pretend I didn't care. Then why was he there instead of me?" Jimin's shoulders dropped. "Because he understood the part of me you refused to see." The crowd gasped. That sentence, short as it was, carried a violence that even fists could not match. Jungkook flinched, not physically, but emotionally, mentally. "So that's what this was about? All the times I waited outside your room and you said you needed space, all the excuses, all the missed calls. It wasn't about pressure. It was just me. I was the part you wanted to escape. You were the part that demanded too much, Jimin whispered. Then you should have left sooner. A long pause followed. I thought I could love you and still protect myself, Jimin finally said. But I couldn't do both. You could have just told me you stopped loving me, Jungkook muttered. I would have understood that more than this performance. Jimin looked at the photo Jungkook had dropped at his feet. Then at the audience. Then back at Jungkook. I didn't stop. Too late. And with that, Jungkook turned around and walked off stage, leaving a sea of fans in chaos, staff in shock, and Jimin rooted to the same spot he had been standing since the first word hit. Taehyung moved forward slowly, his steps deliberate. But he didn't speak to Jimin. He simply picked up the photo and stared at it before following Jungkook. No music played, no announcement was made. The screen behind them froze mid-frame. The fan meeting wasn't canceled, but it was over in every way that mattered. What lingered wasn't applause, but devastation. And Jimin didn't follow. He couldn't. You think this is just about him? The echo of Jungkook's voice still haunted Jimin long after the venue had emptied. The echoes of the crowd's panic, the staff's frantic whispers, the stunned expressions of their members, all of it crashed into him at once the moment the door to the dressing room slammed shut behind him. He wasn't alone. Taehyung sat slouched on the arm of the leather couch, spinning the photo Jungkook had dropped between his fingers like a blade ready to strike. Jimin didn't move. I didn't ask for your opinion. You don't have to, Taehyung said flatly. It's written all over your silence. I said, I don't want to talk right now. And I said, you don't have to talk. You already made your statement when you stood there and said nothing. Jimin gritted his teeth. You think this is easy for me? You think anyone gives a damn whether it's easy for you? Jungkook was humiliated in front of thousands of fans. Do you know what's happening on Twitter right now? Do you even care? Jimin's fists clenched at his sides. I didn't ask for this. He ambushed me. He asked you to be honest. You froze. That's not ambush. That's karma. Jimin turned, eyes sharp. Don't lecture me, Taehyung. You don't know what's been happening between us. Taehyung stood slowly. I know enough. I know he's been different since Japan. I know he's been drinking more backstage. I know he hasn't sung live in rehearsal for weeks. And you know why? Because every lyric reminded him of you. You think this is about a kiss? Jimin shot back. You think that's all this is? He never listened to me. He wanted me to be something I'm not. He wanted perfect. I gave him pieces of me and he threw them back. Taehyung's voice dropped. You gave pieces of yourself to someone else. The silence exploded between them. Jimin turned away, gripping the table. I didn't mean to. It just happened. I didn't expect to see him there. I didn't expect it to feel real. Taehyung stepped forward. More real than Jungkook? Jimin didn't answer. You told him you loved him. I did. You told him he was the only one. He was. Then why did you lie? Jimin's voice was barely a whisper. Because I couldn't breathe anymore. Taehyung blinked. What? I couldn't breathe, Jimin said louder. Not with the cameras. Not with the fans. Not with Jungkook watching me like I was going to break at any second. I felt like I was suffocating. And I thought if I stepped outside, even for a second, I could remember who I was without him. Taehyung looked stunned. You make it sound like love was a prison. Sometimes it felt that way. The door opened with a bang. Namjoon walked in, phone in one hand, the other dragging Hoseok behind him. We need to talk. Now. No, Jimin said. I'm not. You don't get to decide that anymore, Namjoon snapped. You brought the war to the stage. You broke protocol. You ignored every warning. And now, the entire internet thinks BTS is imploding. Hoseok looked paler than usual. They're calling it the breakup fan meet. Jungkook's name is trending next to betrayed and cheated. Hybe is preparing a statement. No, Jimin said quickly. They can't release anything. Not yet. Namjoon's eyes flared. You don't get to tell them what they can or can't release. You gave up that right the moment you stayed silent on stage. I wasn't ready. Ready. Namjoon's voice was deadly calm. You think Jungkook was ready to be gutted on stage in front of millions? You think the fans were ready to watch their idol collapse in real time? You think we were ready to be turned into collateral damage for your silence? I wasn't trying to hurt anyone, but you did, Hoseok said, voice softer. You hurt him, and now you're hurting us too. Jimin pressed his palms against his temples. I didn't mean for this to spiral like this. I thought I could manage it. I thought if I stayed quiet, it would go away, Taehyung scoffed. You really don't get it. It's not about what you did. It's about what you didn't do. You didn't fight for him. I didn't know how, Jimin screamed. I didn't know how to love him and survive this life at the same time. Namjoon exhaled sharply. Then you should have let him go quietly. Not like this. The door opened again. This time, it was Jungkook. Silence. His eyes moved over the room slowly, landing on Jimin last. I came to get my things, he said without emotion. Namjoon nodded once and motioned for the others to leave. They hesitated, but eventually followed him out. Only Taehyung lingered, his eyes darting between them like a brother watching his family fall apart. You sure you want to be alone with him? He asked. Jungkook didn't answer. So, Taehyung left. Jimin turned toward him. Jungkook, you made your choice, Jungkook said calmly. You don't need to explain it anymore. I do. I owe you that much. You owe me nothing. I owe you everything, Jimin whispered. Jungkook finally looked at him. Then why did you betray me? Jimin stepped forward, desperate. Because I was afraid, Jungkook laughed bitterly. Of what? That I loved you too much? Of losing myself in you. You already had me, Jungkook said. I was yours, all of me. You could have asked me to run, to disappear, to burn everything down, and I would have done it. I didn't want you to change. You didn't want me at all. That's not true. Then why him? Jimin's voice cracked. Because he didn't ask for anything. He just listened. I listened, Jungkook yelled. I begged you to talk to me. I begged you to let me in. And every time, you shut me out. Every single time. I couldn't handle the weight of your expectations. They weren't expectations. They were hopes. I felt like I was drowning in them. Jungkook took a deep breath. You kissed him. You slept with him. You lied to me. And now you want me to understand? No, Jimin said quietly. I want you to hate me, so it'll be easier to let go. Jungkook stepped forward. I don't hate you. Jimin flinched. I wish I did, Jungkook continued. But I don't. And that's the worst part. They stood there, the air between them, full of things that could never be unsaid. I don't want the label to release a statement, Jimin said. Let me be the one to tell the truth. You mean another performance? No. A confession. Jungkook looked away. Do whatever you want. Just don't ask me to save you again. I won't. Jungkook picked up his jacket, turned toward the door, then stopped. One day, he said, you'll realize that I wasn't the one you needed to run from. It was yourself. He left. Jimin didn't chase him. He sat down on the couch, alone, the weight of everything pressing down on him all at once. And for the first time in years, he didn't know who he was anymore. The next morning wasn't quiet. It was war. HYBE's headquarters buzzed with chaos. Executives scrambled between conference rooms. Legal teams reviewed every frame of the fan meeting footage. PR managers argued over damage control strategy, while a war room of social media monitors tracked every trending keyword, every fan thread, every rumor. Jungkook, Jimin, betrayal, cheating, fan meeting meltdown. Hashtags morphed into wildfire and burned across every platform. Jimin sat in the glass-walled boardroom with Bang Si-hyuk himself seated across from him. No translator, no buffer, just cold reality. I trusted you to protect the group, Bang said. I didn't mean to. Mean? Bang cut him off. You think this company runs on intention? You think our investors care about what you meant to do? Jimin's voice stayed low. I wasn't trying to destroy the group, but you destroyed the illusion, Bang snapped. And for Army, the illusion is everything. Jimin leaned forward. Then let me fix it. Bang raised an eyebrow. Fix it? You think this can be fixed with another tearful interview or an apology video? We are $3 billion won in losses overnight. Sponsors are pulling ads. Japanese distributors want a statement. Jungkook hasn't returned any calls. And you want to fix it? Jimin didn't flinch. Yes. Bang studied him. Do you even know who you are anymore? Jimin remained silent. Because Jungkook does. Bang continued. He's always known who he is. Even when he was struggling, even when you were hiding, he fought for this group. For you. And now he's out there bleeding in front of the world and you're still trying to make it about yourself. I'm not, Jimin whispered. I just want the truth out. Then go tell the truth, Bang said coldly. But do it knowing there might not be a stage left when you're done. He stood, collecting his documents. We'll be watching. Elsewhere in Seoul, Jungkook was holed up in a small apartment, not listed under his name. No managers, no stylists, no label staff. Just silence, a piano he hadn't touched in years, and Taehyung leaning against the kitchen counter with his arms crossed. You're not going to hide forever, Taehyung said. I'm not hiding, Taehyung stared. Then what are you doing? I'm thinking. No, Taehyung corrected. You're imploding. Quietly, like always. Jungkook laughed under his breath. You sound like Namjoon. Namjoon's too diplomatic. I'm not. Jungkook sat on the floor, resting his head against the wall. Why are you here? Because someone has to stop you before you burn everything down. I'm not the one who set the fire. No, Taehyung agreed. But you're the one holding the gasoline now. Jungkook said nothing. Taehyung crouched beside him. You want to punish him? Jungkook looked away. He deserves it. Maybe, Taehyung said. But do you really want Army to remember you as the guy who shattered everything out of revenge? This isn't about revenge. Then what is it about? It's about truth, Jungkook said bitterly. It's about not living in a fantasy anymore. It's about showing everyone that we're not perfect, that we bleed, that we hurt. Taehyung was quiet for a moment. Then he said, you want him to feel what you felt. Jungkook didn't deny it. Then say it, Taehyung said. Say it and own it. Jungkook looked at him. I want him to feel worthless. I want him to look in the mirror and see the nothingness he left me in. And then what? Jungkook didn't answer. You'll still be empty, Taehyung said. Even after he breaks. Later that night, Jimin went live. No press, no filters, just him, and a live stream that exploded with hundreds of thousands of viewers in minutes. Army, he began. I'm not here to save face. I'm not here to beg. I'm here to tell you the truth. Comments flew faster than he could read. Hearts, broken emojis, angry reactions, tears, he swallowed. I lied to Jungkook, and I lied to you. The chat exploded. I told him I loved him, because I did. But I wasn't strong enough to carry what that meant. I wanted to be everything for him, but I couldn't even be honest with myself. The room felt like a confession booth. I kissed someone else. I saw someone else. And I didn't tell him. I thought I could keep my mistakes separate from our truth. But love doesn't work like that. It invades, it rots, and it crumbles everything you tried to protect. His voice shook. I made the worst mistake of my life not just by what I did, but by staying silent when he gave me a chance to come clean. He asked me, again and again, and I lied, because I was afraid. Not of him, but of myself. He looked directly into the lens. This isn't a PR statement. This isn't hype. This is me, Park Jimin. Not as an idol, not as a performer. Just as a man who broke something beautiful and now has to live with the consequences. He bowed, deep, and the stream cut off. Jungkook watched it on his phone, alone. Taehyung walked in, saw the screen, and said nothing. I didn't think he'd do it, Jungkook admitted. You asked for the truth, Taehyung replied. Now you have it. Jungkook stood, grabbed his coat, and said one word before leaving. Airport. The arrival of Jungkook at Incheon International sent shockwaves across social media. He didn't tell the label. He didn't tell the team. He walked past reporters, past fans, and past dozens of flashing cameras without a word. But the moment he boarded that flight destination unknown, one thing became clear. He was leaving not just the country, but the entire narrative behind. The fan base went into meltdown. Where was he going? Would he come back? Was BTS over? Did Jimin push him too far? Was there a comeback scheduled? Rumors spiraled, and HYBE went silent. For the first time in over a decade, BTS's calendar showed no updates, no appearances, no schedules. Just one word, paused. Days passed, then a week, then two. Jimin didn't speak to the media again. He didn't post. He didn't even leave his apartment. Paparazzi caught him once, stepping out late at night, mask covering most of his face, bodyguard close behind. But fans barely recognized him. Meanwhile, Jungkook was spotted in Portugal, then Spain, then quietly in a coastal village in Italy. No performances, no interviews, no cameras, just distance. Until one day, a photo leaked. A handwritten letter. Folded. Torn. At the edge. On hotel stationery. It was addressed to Jimin. The contents weren't fully visible. But the line that sent Army spiraling again? I can't forgive you, but I can't hate you either. Did you read the letter? Jimin stood still. The hallway outside his apartment eerily quiet at 3 a.m., holding his phone in one hand and that photo of Jungkook's letter in the other. He hadn't left home in 5 days. He hadn't slept in 3. When the photo of the leaked letter surfaced online, he'd stared at it until his vision blurred. Not because of what it said, but because of what it didn't. He finally answered, "Yes." The voice on the phone, Taeyoung's, paused before replying. "Then you know where he is." Jimin said nothing. "Are you going to find him?" Taeyoung asked, softer now. "I don't know if he wants me to." "Then go and ask him to his face." Jimin tightened his grip on the letter. "What if I'm the last person he wants to see?" There was a pause. "Then take that risk. You already took every other one." Jimin boarded a flight that night without a manager, without notice to Hybe. He didn't post, didn't alert anyone, not even his family. His passport had more stamps than he could count, but this one felt different. As he sat in the corner of the plane, staring at nothing, he repeated one sentence in his mind like a mantra. "If he slams the door in my face, at least it'll be the truth." Jungkook was in Sicily, a small town far from the coast, where the internet was weak and time moved like molasses. The town didn't recognize him, not completely. He wore a hat. He walked barefoot. He drank espresso from a tiny cafe every morning, and sometimes played piano in the back room of a church that hadn't had a choir in a decade. It was the farthest place from the Seoul spotlight he could find. The morning Jimin arrived, it was raining. Not hard, but enough to make the cobblestone paths glisten like glass. He stood outside the stone house Jungkook had been renting. He knocked. No answer. He knocked again. He waited. A dog barked somewhere nearby. Then the door opened. Slowly. And there he was. Jungkook didn't say anything. He didn't look shocked. He didn't even look angry. Jimin opened his mouth, but no words came out. Jungkook stepped back and left the door open. Jimin entered, heart pounding. The silence between them was louder than any shout. Jungkook walked to the window and sat on the wide ledge, staring out. "You shouldn't be here." "I had to come." "Why?" Another speech. Another explanation. "No," Jimin said. "I came because I wanted to hear what you'd say if you didn't have to pretend anymore." Jungkook didn't turn around. "What makes you think I ever pretended?" "You did," Jimin said. "You pretended I didn't break you. You pretended you could handle the betrayal. You pretended you forgave me before you even left the stage." Jungkook finally looked at him. "I never forgave you." "I know." There was a long pause. "I read your letter," Jimin said. "It wasn't for you," Jungkook replied. "I know," Jimin said again. "But it reached me anyway." Jungkook stood up. "What do you want me to say, Jimin? That I miss you? That I've been replaying every moment in my head? That I still hear your voice when I close my eyes? I want you to say the truth." Jungkook stepped closer. "The truth? You want the truth? Fine. You destroyed me. You shattered everything we built. I wake up and I hate you for the first 5 minutes of the day. Then I hate myself for the next 5. And then I spend the rest of the day trying to forget either of us existed." Jimin closed his eyes. "But you know what the worst part is," Jungkook continued. "It's not the cheating. It's not the lies. It's that you looked me in the eyes, night after night, and said I was safe with you." "You were," Jimin whispered. "Until I wasn't. You don't get to rewrite the past." "I'm not. I'm trying to understand it." Jungkook's voice broke. "Then understand this. I would have burned the world down for you, and you left me for a spark." Jimin collapsed onto the small wooden chair in the kitchen. "I didn't leave because of him." "Then why?" "Because I hated who I became beside you." Jungkook reeled. "You think that's my fault?" "No," Jimin said quickly. "It's mine. All mine. You were everything. But I wasn't ready for someone to love me that completely. I didn't know how to receive it. I didn't know how to hold it without ruining it. Jungkook slammed a glass down onto the counter. It didn't break, but the sound was enough to fracture the air between them. Then why come here now? Why show up after everything exploded? What's left to fix? I didn't come to fix anything, Jimin said. I came to ask you to stop running. Jungkook laughed darkly. Me? You think I'm running? I'm not the one who hid everything. But you're hiding now. I'm healing. No, Jimin said, voice firm. You're punishing me. Jungkook walked toward him, eyes blazing. If I wanted to punish you, I'd go back to Seoul. I'd hold a press conference and tell every detail you're afraid of. I'd expose every night, every message, every lie. Jimin stood. Then do it. Jungkook blinked. Do it. Jimin repeated. If that's what it takes. If that's what you need to breathe again, then do it. But look me in the eye when you do it. Don't disappear. Don't run. Don't hide behind oceans and time zones. If you're going to destroy me, at least look me in the eye. Jungkook stared at him. And then, something cracked. He sat down, slowly, shaking. Jimin didn't move. You know what hurts the most? Jungkook asked. What? I still love you. Jimin's knees almost gave out. And I hate that I do. I never stopped loving you, Jimin said. Then, why didn't you fight for me? I was fighting myself. Jungkook looked down. And who won? No one. For a long time, they said nothing. Then Jungkook spoke, softly. I dreamt about this moment. That maybe you'd show up. That maybe we'd yell. Maybe we'd cry. And then, maybe we'd find something left. Jimin stepped closer. Is there something left? Jungkook didn't answer. I don't deserve forgiveness, Jimin whispered. But I'm still asking. Jungkook looked up. Not today. Jimin nodded. But maybe, Jungkook said. Someday. The rain outside softened. And for the first time in weeks, the silence wasn't sharp. It was fragile, but it was human. Jimin didn't sleep the night after Jungkook said someday. He sat on the edge of the bed in that cold Sicilian cottage, staring at the cracks in the wall, wondering if they were real or just projections of his own. Jungkook had gone to the other room without slamming the door, without rage, without mercy either. And that Jimin thought was worse. There were no cameras here, no staff, no labels shadowing their every move. And yet Jimin felt more exposed than ever. Because Jungkook had looked at him and spoken not as an idol or a bandmate or even a lover, but as someone who had survived him. In the morning, Jimin left without saying goodbye. Not because he didn't want to, but because he understood what silence could be. A beginning or an end. And if Jungkook didn't stop him, he would take it as a sign. Back in Seoul, chaos was blooming. Not the usual media cycle chaos. Not tweets and theories and speculation. This was internal, rotten, viral from the inside out. Jin had returned from his military hiatus early, Namjoon called him. Not the label, not the army, Namjoon. The moment Jin walked into the private meeting room at Hybe, he didn't ask for updates. He looked straight at Jimin and said, You need to talk. Jimin barely lifted his head. I already did. Jin's voice was sharper than a scalpel. Not to him, to us. Namjoon sat beside Jin, expression unreadable. Hoseok sat across from him, arms crossed, eyes colder than Jimin remembered. Yoongi remained leaning against the wall, silent but completely alert. Taehyung was next to him, face blank, but his foot tapped the ground restlessly. You don't get to disappear and come back like nothing happened, Jin continued. Jimin cleared his throat. I didn't ask to come back. Then why are you here? Jimin looked up. Because I want to face it, Taehyung spoke. Face what? The consequences? Or the guilt? Jimin's voice didn't shake. Both. Namjoon finally looked him in the eye. Then answer me one thing. Anything. Was it just one night? Jimin froze. Yoongi shifted slightly. Hoseok's jaw clenched. Jin narrowed his eyes. Jimin said nothing. Answer the question, Namjoon said. No, Jimin replied. The silence exploded like a grenade. Jin looked stunned for the first time. It wasn't just one night, Jimin admitted. It wasn't just a mistake. It was something I kept choosing, over and over. Even after I knew I was lying to him. You didn't just lie to Jungkook, Hoseok snapped. You lied to us. We defended you. We stood by you while people tore Jungkook apart. You let us believe this was salvageable." Jimin looked down. "I didn't want to lose everything." "You already did," Yoongi said. "You just haven't admitted it yet." Jin stood. "You don't belong at the next comeback." Jimin blinked. "What?" "You're not part of the next cycle," Jin repeated. "Not unless he says otherwise. And even then," Taehyung finished the sentence. "You'll never stand on stage with the same truth again." "I'm not asking for pity," Jimin said. "Or forgiveness." "Good," Namjoon said, "because we're not offering it." Later that night, Hybe leaked a draft of an upcoming project schedule. Jungkook's name was absent. So was Jimin's. The fans noticed. ARMY exploded, split into factions. Some demanded Jimin's removal. Some begged for understanding. Others turned on the company, accusing them of punishing the wrong person. The label stayed silent. Behind the scenes, Jungkook had returned to Seoul but hadn't told anyone. Not until he walked into a private studio space where Taehyung was recording. Taehyung looked up, stunned. "You're here." "I needed to see you," Jungkook said. "Alone." Taehyung turned off the track. "What changed?" "Nothing," Jungkook replied. "That's why I'm here." They sat in silence for a while before Taehyung finally said, "He confessed everything." Jungkook didn't react. He told the truth, all of it. He should have done it sooner. "He couldn't," Taehyung said. "You were his truth." Jungkook shook his head. "Then why didn't he treat me like it?" Taehyung's voice was quiet. "Because we always hurt the people we think will stay." Jungkook stared ahead. "Then I won't stay. You leaving won't fix it." "No," Jungkook said. "But staying doesn't either." Taehyung handed him a phone. "Jin wants you to decide something." Jungkook read the screen. "An offer from the label. 2 comebacks. One without Jimin. One as a duo, Jungkook and Jimin only. A public healing. A weaponized reconciliation." Jungkook set the phone down.
"So, I'm either his savior or his executioner."
"You're neither," Taehyung said. "You're his mirror. You get to decide what reflection he faces next." Jungkook said nothing. Instead, he pulled out his own phone. He called Jimin. When Jimin answered, his voice was raw. "I didn't expect—" "I'm not calling for closure," Jungkook said. "I'm calling because I need you to meet me tomorrow. No cameras, no staff, just us." Jimin's throat tightened. "Where?" "Where it all began." Jimin knew instantly. The rooftop. The same rooftop where they'd sat during the Wings era, talking about the future like they owned it. The next night, they met there. Jungkook arrived first. Jimin came 15 minutes later, unsure if Jungkook would still be there. He was. They didn't greet each other. Didn't sit too close. The air between them was sacred and toxic at once. "You wanted me to look you in the eye," Jungkook said. "I still do." "Then answer this," Jungkook whispered. "Would you have told me if I hadn't caught you?" Jimin froze. "No excuses," Jungkook said. "Just truth." Jimin's mouth went dry. "No." Jungkook nodded slowly. "That's the part I can't forgive," he said. "Not the kiss, not the betrayal, but the fact that you were going to let me love you in ignorance." "I didn't know how to survive your love," Jimin said. "It was too much, too real, too honest. And so you chose something easier." "I chose something weaker," Jimin corrected. "I thought I needed less to feel free. I was wrong." Jungkook leaned forward. "I would have given you freedom. I would have waited. I would have broken every contract." Jimin's eyes were glassy. "I didn't believe I was worth being loved like that." Silence. Jungkook finally stood. "Then maybe it wasn't love we lost. Maybe it was trust." Jimin stood too. "Can we ever get it back?" Jungkook turned away. "I don't know. But I know this, if we try to pretend again, we'll kill each other on stage." "So what do we do?" Jungkook faced him. "We tell the truth. All of it. Together. Even if it ends us, especially if it ends us." They stood on that rooftop for a long time. Not as idols, not as enemies, but as 2 boys who had grown into men under the same spotlight, now learning to stand outside of it. The next day, a live stream was announced. Jimin and Jungkook, together. Unscripted. One night only. ARMY flooded the servers. They didn't promise a comeback. They didn't promise reconciliation. But they promised truth. And for the first time in a long time, that was enough. The broadcast countdown ticked past 10,000 viewers in less than 30 seconds. Jimin and Jungkook sat in front of the camera, side by side, but not touching, not leaning in, not smiling. The tension was visible, even in the frame. Their faces stripped of makeup. No stage lighting, no polished production. Just raw truth lit by the single overhead lamp in the rehearsal studio they'd trained in since they were teenagers. The same place they bled together, fought together, became BTS together. "Can you hear us?" Jungkook asked. Voice even. The chat exploded. Jimin leaned forward slightly. "We're not here as idols tonight. We're here as two people who lost their way." Jungkook glanced at him just briefly, then back at the screen. "You've seen the headlines. You've read the theories. You've taken sides." He took a breath. "We're not asking you to undo any of that." Jimin nodded. "We're not going to tell you that everything is fine. Because it's not. And maybe it never will be. But we're here to tell you what really happened. Because we owe you that." The comments started slowing. The fans were listening. Jimin's throat tightened, but he pushed through. "I was in a relationship with Jungkook." He paused. Let the silence land. "I betrayed that relationship. I kissed someone else. I hid it. I lied about it. And then I let Jungkook find out in the worst possible way." Jungkook looked down, the corner of his jaw tense. "I also want to say," Jimin added, "that I never stopped loving him. Not for a second. But love doesn't excuse what I did. It doesn't erase the pain I caused. And tonight, I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I'm not asking for sympathy." He looked directly into the camera. "I'm just asking you to hear the truth from me. From us." Jungkook leaned back, his tone calm but sharp. "After I found out, I broke. It didn't matter how much I prepared myself for disappointment in this industry. Nothing prepares you for betrayal when it comes from the one person you trusted most." Jimin didn't look at him, but his fingers twitched in his lap. "I thought about quitting," Jungkook admitted. "I left because I didn't know who I was anymore. When you love someone that completely and they hurt you, it doesn't just feel like heartbreak. It feels like identity theft." He gave a slight, hollow laugh. "You're left wondering if every laugh was fake, every hug, every look. You replay conversations and start hearing lies that weren't there before. Or maybe they were." Jimin spoke softly. "I replayed it too. Every time I looked at him on stage, I remembered the version of me that didn't deserve him. But I stayed. Because I was too afraid to admit I was destroying the very thing I claimed to protect." Jungkook exhaled. "And the truth is, the betrayal didn't just affect us. It affected our group, our brothers, our team, you, the fans, everything." There was a long pause. Then Jungkook turned to Jimin. "So why did you do it?" Jimin didn't flinch. "Because I thought I was suffocating," he said. "I felt like I couldn't breathe anymore inside the version of myself I was performing. With you, I was so exposed. You saw every wound, every insecurity, every part of me I tried to keep hidden. And I panicked. I chose something easier, something that didn't demand truth. And that's why it broke us." "I know." The chat was on fire, but neither of them looked at it anymore. They were looking at each other now. "I didn't come here tonight to get back together," Jungkook said. "I didn't agree to this to revive some fake image of perfection. We're not perfect. We never were." He looked at the camera again. "But we were real." Jimin swallowed. "We're still real, even in the wreckage." Jungkook stared at him. Then his voice dropped. "You told me once you loved me, because I made you feel seen." Jimin nodded slowly. "I remember. So tell me now, when you cheated, when you lied, was there ever a part of you that hoped I wouldn't find out?" Jimin closed his eyes briefly, then opened them. "Yes." That landed like a slap. "But only because I didn't know how to live with your pain," Jimin said. "I thought ignorance was kindness, but it was cowardice." "You didn't protect me," Jungkook said quietly. "You protected yourself." "I know," Jimin said again, voice raw. "But I'm done running." They sat in silence. A full minute passed. Then Jungkook turned back to the camera. "So here's what happens next." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "A month ago, I wrote my resignation letter. From BTS." Jimin looked at him, shocked. "I didn't send it," Jungkook said. Because a part of me needed to know if there was anything left to fight for. Jimin's voice broke. And is there? Jungkook looked at him. Really looked. And then he tore the letter in half. The sound was soft. But final. We're not okay, he said. But we're still here. And maybe that's enough for now. Jimin blinked rapidly. Jungkook leaned in again. This isn't a comeback announcement. This isn't a reunion. This is two people telling you that we messed up. That we're still healing. That we still believe in truth, even when it hurts, Jimin whispered. Even when it ends us. Jungkook's lips twitched. Especially then. The live stream ended. But the noise had only just begun. Army broke. Some wept. Some raged. Some forgave. Others didn't. Hashtags trended for days. But more than anything, the silence from Hybe afterwards said everything. No scripted response. No edited clarification. Just reality. Jimin and Jungkook stayed quiet for a while. Until one day, weeks later, a single photo surfaced. A candid shot. Two men in black hoodies sitting on a bench at Han River. No masks. No fan nearby. No handlers. Just them. No one smiled. But they weren't apart. They weren't hiding. Not anymore. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. Because sometimes healing isn't loud. It's the quiet decision to stay. Even after the storm. Even after the silence. Even when it hurts. Especially then. The photo of Jimin and Jungkook sitting together at the Han River didn't just go viral. It detonated. For some, it was a healing moment. Proof that wounds didn't always have to end in erasure. For others, it was betrayal. A slap in the face after weeks of silence, drama, and emotional devastation. But for those within Hybe's walls, it was an outright mutiny. Bang Si-hyuk summoned both of them to a closed-door meeting less than 24 hours later. No staff, no PR reps, no lawyers, just him, a long table, and two chairs facing opposite ends. Jungkook arrived first. Jimin minutes later. No one spoke as they entered. Bang leaned forward, tapping a pen against a black folder. So, he said, voice low, calm, too calm. You've made your own statement. Jungkook met his eyes. We didn't name the company. We didn't blame anyone. We told the truth. The truth, Bang repeated, almost mockingly. You think truth works in our world? You think the world cares about your pain more than it cares about your brand? Jimin spoke carefully. The fans ask for honesty. Bang threw the pen across the table. The fans don't even know what they want. They demand blood one minute and a love story the next. And you, he pointed to Jungkook, gave them both. Jungkook's jaw clenched, but he said nothing. And you, Bang turned to Jimin, you were supposed to lie. That was the deal. Keep your mouth shut. Let the narrative die. We would have pushed the comeback stronger angle. A redemption arc. We had a plan, but you went rogue. No, Jimin said slowly. I went real. Bang leaned back. Real doesn't sell. It does now, Jungkook said. Silence stretched. Bang opened the black folder. Inside was a press release. Official. Drafted. Final. It claimed Jimin and Jungkook had both taken extended hiatuses for mental and emotional recovery after a miscommunication within the group. It mentioned professional misunderstandings, creative pressure, and personal boundaries. It made no mention of cheating, no betrayal, no confrontation. It whitewashed every scar until the whole thing sounded like a technical glitch. Jungkook read it. Slowly. Every word like acid. This is what you wanted to send? Bang said nothing. You were going to let me be the villain, Jungkook whispered. Alone. Bang's expression was unreadable. Jungkook looked at Jimin. You knew about this? Jimin didn't answer fast enough. You knew, Jungkook repeated. I didn't approve it, Jimin said. But I saw the draft. They told me it was the only way we'd survive the next comeback. Jungkook's face shifted. Not rage, not sadness, just disbelief. So, you were just going to let me take the fall alone? I was scared, Jimin said. They said if we both admitted it, the group might what? Jungkook's voice sharpened. Might die? It already died the second you stopped fighting for it. Bang stood. You don't get to dictate the story. No, Jungkook said, rising slowly. But we can burn the script. Bang laughed coldly. You think the public wants the real you? They don't. They want the myth, the drama, the tears, and then they want you to shut up and dance. Jungkook's voice dropped to a whisper. Then they can keep the stage. He walked out. Jimin didn't follow. That night, Taehyung found Jungkook back in the dance studio. Alone, lights off, just his phone playing an old instrumental loop in the background. You said you'd never come back here without him, Taehyung said. Jungkook didn't look up. I didn't. Taehyung sat down. He told me. Told you what? That he saw the draft. That he didn't stop it. That he froze. Jungkook's tone was flat. He's good at freezing. He's not good at surviving. Jungkook finally looked up. Then maybe I should stop trying to be the fire he keeps getting burned by. Taehyung didn't argue. Why didn't any of you tell me? Jungkook asked. When you saw the rumors. When the whispers started. When the staff knew. We didn't want to believe it. You knew. Taehyung nodded once. Yeah. And you let me keep performing with him. Laughing with him. Sleeping 3 doors down while We didn't know what to do, Taehyung said. So we did nothing. Jungkook stared at him. I can't forgive you for that. I'm not asking you to. Jungkook turned back to the mirror. What happens when a group is built on loyalty, and then that loyalty cracks? Taehyung said nothing. I'll tell you what happens, Jungkook whispered. The silence becomes louder than the music. Meanwhile, the company moved fast. Within 48 hours of the live stream, Hybe launched internal investigations, halted promotions, and delayed every scheduled public appearance. The message was clear: regroup or dissolve. Fans began choosing sides not just between Jimin and Jungkook, but between BTS and Hybe. Former staff anonymously leaked old rehearsal footage, some innocent, some damning. One video in particular caught fire. A behind-the-scenes moment from 2 years ago. Jimin in a dressing room, on the phone, whispering, not to Jungkook, but to him, the one Jungkook had caught him with. The audio wasn't clear, but the tone was unmistakable. It wasn't a one-time thing. It had been real. And now the world knew it. Jimin didn't leave his apartment for 3 days. When he finally did, it was to show up at Jin's door, alone. Jin didn't let him in at first, but Jimin stood there for 26 minutes without knocking again. Eventually, Jin opened the door. Why now? Jin asked. I'm done hiding, Jimin said. Jin looked tired. You think you deserve another chance? No. Then what do you want? Accountability. Jin crossed his arms. You're 2 years late. I know. Then why should I listen? Because I'm still here, Jimin said. And if I don't tell the full truth, someone else will. Then tell it, Jin said. And mean it this time. The next morning, Jimin went live again, alone. He didn't cry. He didn't ask for sympathy. He played the leaked audio. He named the person. I don't see. Someone not in the company anymore. He didn't blur names. He didn't sanitize facts. He listed dates, times, lees, regret. He said Jungkook deserved more. He said BTS deserved better. He ended the stream with one sentence. I'm not the victim in this story, but maybe telling the truth now is the first step to becoming human again. That night, Jungkook stood outside the dorm they hadn't used in years. He called Namjoon, asked to meet. Namjoon showed up 20 minutes later. They didn't hug. Jungkook said, I'm going to hold a press conference. Namjoon said, to say what? The part no one said yet. Namjoon hesitated. You sure you want to go that public? It's not about public, Jungkook said. It's about closure. Namjoon nodded. You'll be asked about the future of the group. Jungkook looked out over the city. Then I'll answer. And he did. 2 days later, standing in front of a dozen cameras, Jungkook walked up to the podium and took off the mic earpiece. No filters. He thanked ARMY. He thanked the members. And then he said, BTS is not broken, but it is changing. We were built on love, on truth, on shared pain. And sometimes that pain becomes bigger than the music. He looked at the press directly. We are not your fantasy. We are people. We make mistakes. We fall. We hurt. And sometimes we hurt each other. He paused. But we don't run. That sentence echoed for hours across timelines. Jungkook stepped off the stage. Jimin was waiting backstage. They didn't hug, but they nodded. Not as a sign of healing, but as a promise. Whatever happens next, whether together or apart, it'll be real. And that's all they owed anyone, especially themselves. Jungkook didn't know who leaked the internal email first. All he knew was that within 10 minutes of the press conference ending, his phone was blowing up with messages. Taehyung, Hosok, 3 separate staff members from Hybe, even Yoongi, who rarely called anyone unless a performance was collapsing in real time. The leak wasn't about Jimin. It wasn't about Jungkook. It was about them, BTS, a thread of internal company emails, some barely a week old, others dating back nearly a year. Screenshots, memo drafts, private executive communication chains, none meant to be seen by the public. None meant to exist outside the deepest halls of Hybe's damage control division. But now, they were everywhere, and they told a different story. The emails described BTS not as artists, but as assets. Language like timeline management, scandal absorption risk, and contingency departure protocol appeared again and again. Worse, they outlined internal strategies to control fan perception, plans to manipulate the narrative of Jungkook and Jimin's breakdown, deliberate suppression of information, the decision to let Jungkook appear unstable in the public eye to protect the company's image, the plan to exile Jimin quietly, without scandal, by introducing a slow character assassination, over time subtle, orchestrated, invisible. But the worst email was dated 7 days before the live stream. A senior executive had written, "If they insist on going off script, let them. We'll use it. Collapse is part of control. The brand survives if they look human and broken." The internet didn't pause. It went ballistic. Free BTS trended within an hour. Then, Hybe exposed. Former employees began speaking out. Former managers who had resigned quietly. Background stylists. Even vocal coaches. Screenshots of edited rehearsal footage. Suppressed content. Scripts modified to provoke tension during fan events. It wasn't just sabotage. It was betrayal. And this time, it wasn't Jimin's. It was the company's. By morning, an emergency shareholder meeting was scheduled. Hybe stock dropped 18% in less than 24 hours. And BTS was silent. But inside their private group chat, chaos was exploding. "Jin, we need to meet. Today. No PR, no staff." Namjoon. "Agreed. I don't trust anyone at HQ anymore." Taehyung. "Is this really new though? Or did we just ignore it before?" Yoongi. "It's been happening for years. We just never wanted to see it." Jungkook didn't reply. Neither did Jimin. Until 30 minutes later, Jimin. "I'll be there, but not to forgive anyone." They gathered in the same room they once used to rehearse for their debut showcase. The mirrors were still covered in plastic. The floor still scuffed from years of footwork and collapse. It wasn't nostalgia. It was strategy. No cameras. No staff dared enter that room, not after what was now public. Namjoon paced like a man walking through a burning field. "Tell me none of you knew," he said, looking at each of them. No one answered. "Tell me we weren't just pawns this entire time." Yoongi finally said it. "We were, and we let it happen," Jin added, "because we were so desperate to protect the idea of BTS." Jungkook stood in the corner, silent. Jimin hadn't arrived yet. Taehyung looked at the door. "What if this was the plan all along?" Namjoon frowned. "What? Let us burn. Let us break. Then rebuild us with someone else. New members. New image." "They wouldn't," Jin said, but his voice wavered. "They would," Yoongi replied. "If the brand survives, they win." The door opened. Jimin walked in. No hut. No hoodie. No mask. He didn't say hello. He didn't sit. He looked at each of them, then turned to Jungkook. "They tried to turn us into a cautionary tale." Jungkook stared at him. "Maybe we were. Then let's end it on our terms." "End what?" "BTS." The word dropped like thunder. Everyone froze. Namjoon's voice cracked. "You're not serious." "I am," Jimin said. "Not because I hate this, but because I love it too much to let it rot." "You want us to break up?" Hosok asked. "Just like that?" Jimin shook his head. "Not break up. Burn it down. Publicly, loudly, truthfully." Yoongi narrowed his eyes. "You want to be the ones to announce it?" "Yes." Jin looked sick. They'll destroy us. No, Jimin said. They're already doing that. If we stay silent, we become complicit. Jungkook finally stepped forward. And if we speak, we start a war. Jimin looked at him. Then maybe it's time. The room fell into silence again, until Taehyung said, I'd rather go to war with you than rot in peace for them. One by one, they nodded. Not because they were ready, but because it was all they had left. That night, they began filming. No script, no stylists, just 7 boys. And a camera. They talked for hours. About the lies, the manipulation, the contracts, the silencing, the betrayals inside the group and outside of it. And when they finished, Jimin asked one question. Are we still BTS if we walk away? Jungkook looked at him and said, only if we walk away together. The video was uploaded 48 hours later, titled simply, Our Truth. No announcement, no teaser, no social campaign, just a notification. And in less than 3 hours, it broke every streaming record they ever held. Not because it was beautiful, but because it was real, raw, wounded, free. At the end of the video, each member signed their name on screen. Jin, Suga, J-Hope, RM, Jimin, V, Jungkook. No mention of a new album, no date for a comeback, no promises. Just the truth. And the silence afterward? It wasn't emptiness. It was peace. For the first time in years. And somewhere in the middle of that silence, ARMY didn't cry because it ended. They cried because, for once, they saw who BTS really were. Not gods. Not saints. Not machines. Just men. Who chose to be human even if it meant walking off the stage for good. The internet didn't break. It howled. It fractured. It screamed in 20 languages across 13 time zones, clashing with the quiet finality of 7 names fading off a screen. Our Truth was streamed more than 70 million times in the first 24 hours. It was raw, uncut, devastating, the kind of confession no label had ever dared to let see the light of day. And yet hype hadn't stopped them. That's what scared Jimin the most. He watched the video again 3 nights after they released it. Alone. In his apartment. Lights off. Wrapped in the same blanket he used to fall asleep in. While waiting for Jungkook to finish practice years ago. He paused the video on Jungkook's final sentence. If we can't be honest with you, then we don't deserve to stand in front of you anymore. The line had been his idea, but the weight of it felt heavier now. His phone vibrated. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something told him to. The voice on the other end was soft, controlled, familiar in the worst way. You think you're free? The man said. But you just started another performance? Jimin didn't speak. You think the public will remember you as brave? The voice continued. But they'll remember betrayal louder than truth. You just changed the role, from idol to martyr. Then a pause. You should have taken the exit quietly. The call disconnected. Jimin stared at the screen. The contact ID updated on its own. Former Hybe executive director. He didn't sleep that night. Not because he was afraid, but because he was right. They hadn't escaped. They'd simply stepped into a different kind of prison. One built from expectations, fractures, and the sharp edge of honesty. Jungkook didn't return home after the broadcast. He disappeared again. No statement. No explanation. No location ping. Jin called him twice. Nothing. Namjoon tried reaching out through a trusted journalist. Still nothing. Taehyung was the only one who knew the truth, and he refused to tell anyone. He found Jungkook in a studio hidden beneath an old dance hall on the outskirts of Jeju Island, a place they used to joke about running away to when they were kids. Jungkook had been there for 3 days, writing, recording, alone. Not for the fans, not for the world, just for himself. You left without saying goodbye, Taehyung said. You knew where I'd go. That's not the same thing. Jungkook pulled off his headphones. I needed space. You didn't need space, Taehyung said. You needed to disappear. Jungkook didn't respond. Taehyung stepped closer. You're angry. I get it. No, Jungkook said. You don't. Then tell me. You think I'm upset because we ended BTS? Taehyung waited. I'm angry because he said we ended it together, Jungkook continued. But he ended it long before we sat down in front of that camera. The moment he lied, the moment he cheated, the moment he looked me in the face and said nothing was wrong. That's when it ended. Everything after that was just slow bleeding. Taehyung lowered his voice. Then why did you stand by him during the video? Because I'm not like him. Taehyung didn't argue. I wanted the truth to be enough, Jungkook whispered. But the truth doesn't fix the betrayal. It just confirms it. He stood and walked toward the sound booth. Are you going to go solo? Taehyung asked. Jungkook stopped. Don't, Taehyung said. Don't disappear into music just to punish yourself. I'm not punishing myself. Then what are you doing? Jungkook turned. I'm making sure that if I ever come back, it'll be as someone I can respect again. The industry didn't stay quiet. Labels from every corner of the world reached out. Offers, collaborations, contracts longer than film scripts. Everyone wanted a piece of the fall. Jimin turned them all down, but someone didn't. A leak hit Weverse 5 days after our truth dropped. Taehyung, new company, new direction, creative freedom, rumors of an art-focused solo debut, one-on-one fan projects, direct-to-platform releases. The fans went into overdrive. Some rejoiced. Some panicked. Some saw it as betrayal. Didn't they say they'd stay together? Didn't he promise no solo debut this year? Is this why Jungkook left? Jimin sat in his kitchen watching the threads multiply by the minute. And then his phone rang. It was Taehyung. He didn't sound surprised when Jimin answered. He sounded tired. You've seen it, Jimin exhaled. I thought we agreed. We agreed to be honest, Taehyung interrupted. I'm being honest now. You said you wouldn't move until we were all ready. No, Taehyung corrected. I said I wouldn't leave unless I had something real to say. And do you? Taehyung didn't answer right away. I'm tired of being defined by someone else's shame, he said. I love Jungkook. I'll always protect him. But I'm not waiting around while he figures out how to feel human again. Jimin's voice cracked. So, you're just gonna move on? You did, Taehyung snapped. The silence exploded between them. Then Jimin said, You didn't just leave the group. You left me. No, Taehyung said coldly. You left us the second you broke him. The line went dead. By week 3, ARMY began to fracture more deeply. Documentaries were created. Commentators dissected every frame of Our Truth, reading body language, blinking patterns, vocal tones. Some said Jungkook looked manipulated. Others said Jimin looked coached. Some insisted Taehyung had already known about the company plot and withheld the truth. The fandom that once unified millions was now at war with itself. And Hybe finally responded in a perfectly timed, carefully worded press release. The group's creative direction had changed. Contracts would be revisited. Support for solo projects would be evaluated. BTS was not disbanded but paused. Again, but this time, it sounded more like a threat than a promise. Jungkook released a song at midnight without telling anyone. No title, no marketing, just a raw audio file titled No Answer. It was a storm. 7 minutes of layered vocals, ambient chaos, soft confessions laced beneath distorted piano riffs. It didn't sound like K-pop. It didn't sound like BTS. It sounded like grief, like healing forced through a microphone, like forgiveness withheld from himself. And one line looped halfway through the song broke every listener who heard it. You loved me like a secret. So I let myself become one. Fans sobbed. Others turned. Some blamed Jimin again. Some blamed Hybe. Some blamed Jungkook for not being stronger. Jimin listened to the song alone. Then again, he didn't cry. Not until the final 20 seconds, when Jungkook's voice whispered something almost unintelligible. I wish you'd lied to me sooner, so I could have left before I loved you this much.